Brees not going back to NBC and him kind of weighing out his options, what he wants to do next. So, like, who are the Saints better with after all these signings? Drew Brees or Jameis Winston? And at first, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't actually know that Drew Brees said that. So I'm already looking at it like, why are we even talking about this? You know, like Drew Brees is done. He's not like, what are we doing? Why, who thought this was a good idea, right? But even after hearing that, he said what he said, I'm thinking the last time we saw Drew Brees, he had a noodle of an arm. No disrespect, because he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion. But it is what it is. He had a noodle of an arm at this point. They wanted to make plays, especially in a Sean Payton offense, where you can push the ball down the field. He was getting subbed out for Taysom Hill every time, or on occasion Jameis Winston, every time they needed to do that. Here, and this is the problem that the New York Giants and even the Pittsburgh Steelers had, holding on to these franchise legends longer than you should have. I love Eli Manning, but reality is maybe they should have looking for a replacement, a real replacement, after the playoff season. Very similar conversation what I have with the Trailblazers. Story for another day, but like why? There's no reason that Drew Brees should be in there over Jameis Winston right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so number one, sorry, what are your expectations for the Saints this season? And what do you feel about this conversation?
That's for me or for Rich? I'm gonna say
Mi-
for K.
Nah, it's for you, Mike.
So, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, because I guess my headphones is acting up. But yeah, I mean, expectations just like how we were talking about off air. Um, you got to respect them in the division. Yes, Tampa Bay and the great one coming back, the GOAT coming back, Tom Brady. They deserve to be front runners and the favorites and everything. But you and I both agree that you can't count the Saints out. I don't think you should count the Saints out. They're the thing with them past couple years was they need to be a little bit better on defense, and now they have a former defensive coordinator as a head coach. You bring back Honey Badger, playmaker. Okay, cool. If I was to put an early number on it, I'm saying around 10 wins. I think that's good enough for. I think that's a solid number for them at this point right now, and we'll see. But they could definitely make the playoffs. But I don't know about them winning the division. But like you said, I wouldn't count them out at all. There's no reason to count them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we shouldn't obviously not count them out, but like specifically with Jameis Winston, I think people are still kind of looking at him as like this little bit of a clown show with how things went for him in Tampa. And I'm just like he's a more mature quarterback than he was at that
100%.
time. Yes, he has his flaws, but to be honest with you, the things that he is good at, like they stick out to me a lot more than the flaws do at this point in his career. And I felt like we were on the way to really seeing that last season until he got hurt.
He he matured. He turned it around. He realized, okay, I'm being everything that I'm not supposed to be. I'm still this college guy making mistakes in the NFL. And if I want an NFL job, I need to stop with the foolishness. So credit to him. I'm going to use the Kobe comparison. Rest in peace, Kobe. But Kobe had some trouble, when he went over to Colorado, did his thing, and he kind of just turned it around. And that's what we're seeing from Jameis. And I love it. I love it because at his best, he could be a top tier quarterback. Maybe not top tier, but in the upper half of quarterbacks in the NFL at the very least.
You can compete with Jameis Winston as your quarterback.
I agree. I agree with that. And it's coming from a hurricane, and he's a knoll. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Let's get into this playoff action, man. Lot to discuss. Lot to discuss. Oh man, I guess we could go because we've been talking since the first round in that chat we got, but let's go with this Memphis Grizzlies Golden State series. So I might have been the only one that picked Memphis over Golden State. I want to say I still feel verified in doing that because we didn't end that series with Ja, and those last games were close.
Definitely, I agree. I think if you actually look at it, Memphis was never fully healthy in that series. Steven Adams, who you seen was a big part of them winning the game 5 and being in game 4 and game 6. He missed the first 2 games with COVID. Dylan Brooks has that hit that he ends up missing game 2 and game 3, and then by the time both of those guys came back, Ja was hurt. So that they were missing one or two starters for most of the series, and then you end up losing your star. So I think they showed you that they there's a chance they could have won it maybe if they were healthy and everything went right.
To me, the whole thing, and I agree with everything that you just said. The thing with that is, it's just funny how the basketball gods make things happen because you see it every year, like this upstart team, and not that the Grizzlies are upstart, but let's say they would have gotten past this round and they were healthy. I don't think not many people would have expected it. Rich, you called, them winning this series. Okay, cool, but it's not like if 99% of people out there, basketball fans, had that same feeling. But you got to go through your motions. The Golden State Warriors went through it. The Bulls went through it. The Lakers went through it. Atlanta went through it last year. They didn't even make the playoffs. Or did they make the playoffs this year?
Atlanta was in the
The
playoffs
Hawks,
this year.
they were in the playoffs.
Yeah, they lost to
They
Miami
lost to the
first
Heat.
round.
They lost to the Heat. So this was Memphis's turn to kind of like, okay, we made it to the second round. They gotta grow through it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I viewed it. I didn't have them winning the series, but I did have them respectfully going out in 6 or 7 games. Now, that was them being healthy, assuming they were healthy. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know they were going to look that good without Jaw in the playoffs. Yes, we know how they look, in the regular season, but playoffs is a different animal. And I'm excited to see what's happening with them next year, man. Like if Ja was healthy, who knows what the hell could have happened in the last couple games.
100% with you on that. I mean, he even cooked them for 47 points. Um, that was amazing. Ja's man. I'm glad I have you on, Mike, because I feel like I've said this before with K. If you are the Memphis, you're not gonna let me say it. You're not gonna let me
I
say
think
it.
I know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
If you are the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks, you are happy every day that you ended up with the second and third overall picks in that draft.
Oh, okay. I was going somewhere else with that. But second and third, who did the Knicks have?
RJ Barrett.
That's right. Oh yeah, man. 100%. 100%. I mean, look, RJ Barrett's gonna be joined by his former teammate in college in hopefully a few years. That's what I think is gonna happen. But I don't think it could have gone better, man. I think the cards lined up the way they were supposed to. I'm still not sold on RJ Barrett yet, but he's got time.
I see what you're saying. I think Zion will probably come back, especially after the run that the Pelicans just made. You think he sees that and wants to get out there with those guys, and then maybe I don't want to say championship contender with them, but they're
I think
they're a threat.
Maybe not championship, but yeah. I'm with you.
Threat.
I'm with you. Same page.
You know what I did here, and I want to ask you guys. I know we're going off topic, but I just got one question for the both of you guys. I was listening. I forgot what show it was on NBA radio, Sirius XM, and it was like a hot takes section, right? And one caller came in and they said they ranked the hot takes, and this one was like top 3. He said that if LeBron was like the last piece that the Memphis Grizzlies needed to be a championship winner, hands down, not contender, winner. You put LeBron James on that Memphis Grizzlies team, they winning it all. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
I
wouldn't be surprised he made him worse. I wouldn't be surprised because me, the antithesis of some stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he made him worse. But that's just me, kind of looking at the other side of it. But
I can see what he's going to make a lot of changes. I think LeBron has shown us anywhere he go that they're going to be a championship contender. So that's why I kind of give it to him. But he will, I think, and to like the point you're trying to make, it's not going to be perfect right away. He's going to have to make his changes and put his stamp on it to make it perfect. If you just leave him on that team right now, I don't know how much they like it. It seems like it should work, but I can see what you're saying about how it could possibly go wrong.
I think he would have to make more changes than the actual roster or the coaching or the mentality of that team. I think he would have to fit more to them than the Grizz to him. That's
how do y'all feel about this? Came out today that candidates for the Lakers job are getting asked how they would maximize Russell Westbrook in this rotation.
Good, damn it, because Russell Westbrook's not a bad player, man. I hate the slander that he gets. I'm tired of it. The guy was put on a bad team on a coach that they didn't even want. You know what I'm saying?
This
Um,
one on the social media account. I'm hyped. Let's go. Keep. Let's go,
man,
Mike. Let's go.
he was put. Look, I just don't understand the slander that the guy gets from a record that was taking forever to get broken by. We're talking about Oscar Robertson's record, and then he had ended up having what 4 or 5 years worth of triple doubles. I don't see Russell Westbrook as a stat stuffer. I don't care what the hell people say. The dude plays basketball the way you want him to play. One speed. He only knows one speed. Does he have flaws in his game? Everybody does. But I'm sorry. If I'm picking somebody as a teammate, I want somebody that plays like that all the time. I don't. The slander that he gets to me is unwarranted 100%. I don't give a how much money he makes. Nah, man, that dude is a dog.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with what Mike had to say. I think if you think about it, you got to ask coaches that. First of all, if you don't ask coaches that, you're
Yeah.
automatically going to think that he's out of there. And I also don't think that they don't. I also don't think that they think that he just can't fit around them. I think they kind of looked at it as maybe the coaching situation they worked out, but they also know there's
Right.
a chance you can't get rid of him with that contract. So you have
Yep.
to kind of
Yep.
try to make things work because they don't want to give up a
Yep.
first round pick. So
Right.
either way, if you have those three talents, no matter how that last season just went, you try to maximize that if you can. You get rid of it if you can't, but you try to maximize it if you can. And Russ, the last 4 years, he's been on different teams, and at the end of each year, you see
Yep.
he's got better. So obviously, it's a comfort thing. So you hope maybe having him for a second year, the first time he's been with the team for multiple years and years, you get a new coach in. Hopefully, things work out.
On a team with a big three too. Because think about it, he hasn't. I mean, you could say that they tried it with the Melo Paul George thing, but at that point it was really more him and Paul George than the three of them. This is the first time he's ever had to defer as the last option to two
Exactly.
other guys. And then not only that, but the best ability is availability. He
Yep.
didn't get much out of LeBron James, especially Anthony Davis this season. If you're able to get more of LeBron and Anthony Davis next year, it's a whole different team. They're a playoff team at minimum.
Yes.
At minimum, they're a playoff team if you get more of those two.
Yeah, definitely.
As a matter of fact, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
Nah, you can go. You can go, Mike.
All I was gonna say is a healthy Lakers team beats Phoenix last year in the first round. That's how
I
I
agree.
feel.
People
I'm with
forget
you.
that.
I'm with you.
People definitely
I'm
forget
with you.
that.
I am with you on that. I am absolutely with you on that.
What I was gonna
Um,
say is that and Russ showed this year kind of that he can adapt. There was people talking about him turning the ball over too much. He went out and had multiple games where he didn't turn the ball over after that talk started happening. So he hears the talks and he tries to adjust when he can. Obviously, like Mike said, that he has flaws and he's gonna have flaws, but that's all players do.
You need someone that's gonna. You need a coach in there that's gonna stick to what the game plan is supposed to be. He can be a start. He can be a starter, but you got to make sure that him and LeBron James minutes are staggered for majority of the game. And then you got to improve this roster. You need shooters on a team
Yep.
with a guy like Russ.
Yep. Period.
Definitely, I think him and AD should play the most together, and then let LeBron kind of maybe run that second unit by himself. And I think they tried that a little bit this year, but I think him and AD together would be perfect. That's someone back there if he gets beat on defense, and then you run that pick and roll a lot. So
Yeah.
him and AD just has to get on point too. And AD missed a lot of time because, as you can see, that pick and roll and that connection kind of just wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah. So before we get to the more recent series that we ended here, let's go straight to that Heat because we've been out for a minute. Let's go to that Heat Philly series. Done in 6. That was a lot quicker than I thought it was. I thought the team, Joel Embiid was getting killed by certain people, and I thought that was extremely unfair. This dude is out here, sacrificing things along with some other people on that team just to even keep them in games. He might not have been what you needed him to be on offense, but his presence alone definitely changed that game to even get them to a 6 game series.
Yeah.
Like Kay talked about it a bit, Miami, and I didn't, I kind of pivoted away from it, but at the end of the day, it was true. Miami didn't have as much as most of us love Bam Adebayo. He just can't keep up with Embiid is doing out there. They didn't really have anybody to keep up with him on the floor. So you didn't really have an answer for Embiid. That stretched it out. I've been thinking about this a while. I had this rant. I actually don't know if it was with you or with Kay. It might have been with Kay. Where once James Harden forced his way out of Brooklyn, the same way like a Stephen A. Smith or a lot of these guys love to get on Russell Westbrook about not winning, right? You've had the talent. You've been played with all these top guys, and I'm sitting there saying, in what world did y'all expect Russell Westbrook, regardless of who he was teamed up with, to beat the Golden State Warriors at that time? Because you're saying championship, he should have won. This is what we're being told. He should have won a championship, right? With Paul George and James Harden, right? Or KD. KD is always the big one. I'm always like, why? And this is what I said in the rant. Why doesn't James Harden get the same exact criticism? Let's think about it. He played with KD. He played with Russell Westbrook twice. He played with Chris Paul. He was in a 7-game series against the Golden State Warriors. Those are all future Hall of Fame players. Never every year is a playoff fumble. And now let's go to this year. I said it. I brought up all that stuff, and I was like, if Philly does not win a championship this year, if they don't even make a run, James Harden deserves the criticism. He deserves the same criticism that we give Russell Westbrook every year. And I understand that Joel Embiid was playing hurt, and we could say what we say about James Harden post quad injury, right? But two shots.
The second half, yeah. I mean, look, James Harden's getting his due. Let's not make it seem like he's getting a pass, because he is getting some feedback on the negative side of things, right? He's not getting the Russell Westbrook treatment, but I think I know the answer to that. It's because James Harden don't run his mouth how Russell Westbrook does, and Russell Westbrook tell it like he ain't scared of nothing. Russell Westbrook will tell you, your mama in the stands, and your sister sitting next to her. Like, he don't care. And that people don't like that. Remember, we're in 2022. Everybody's sensitive. You got to watch what you say. All right. You got to be careful. The media. Oh, this, that, the third. And then once you mess with the media, they all want to mess with you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think, you know what I'm saying? And because people they put the stat stuff next to his name, and the way that he plays and this and that, and they just don't like his attitude. I don't understand why they don't. That's my opinion. But going back to what you're saying about Harden, let's not make it seem like he's just, getting, people giving him his flowers or anything like that, because he's getting some talk, and I am defending him to a point.
Yeah, I'm gonna defend him to a small point too. I agree with everything Mike just said. The only reason I'm gonna give him a small or defend him a little bit is Embiid was hurt, so that obviously messed up that series there. Obviously, he didn't play well, but also I think the hamstring injury is still hurting him a little bit. I said that on here. I think next season, if he still looks like that, then we have a problem. I think this season, if you remember, he wasn't supposed to play in those games. He only came back because Kyrie got hurt. So he that hamstring probably wasn't fully healthy. So he probably didn't get to train too much coming into this season. So then he didn't want to be in Brooklyn. So now he's out of shape a little bit. So I think this season he should be happy in Philly where he is. Maybe the money doesn't work out. That upsets him. But if he's happy where he is, he should have this offseason to get right. And he should be able to bounce back next season. I think someone came on First Take. What's this guy? Patrick Beverly. He was on First Take today talking about how it's hard playing as the point guard.
This was hilarious.
Playing at the point guard in Doc Rivers' system, so he got a trade mid-season. He wasn't with Philly the whole season, so he came in halfway through. He never played with a dominant big. So there's a couple things that maybe was against him. I think, like Mike said, the negativity, the feedback, it's there. I think next season, though, it'll be worse if he doesn't come through. I think he's slightly getting a pass because of those things.
That's my thing. Go ahead, my bad.
I was gonna give him flack though. I was gonna let him rock for everything because I understood those factors were there, but none of that has anything to do with you only taking 2 shots in the second half. Once that happened, I threw everything else out the window.
That's fair.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fair.
And it's a playoff game. It's the thing that's bad about it is everyone can pull up his old games where it's like he's done this before, so you can't even really say maybe it's a Philly thing. We've seen it against the Spurs when he was like the main guy in Houston. So I don't know. Hopefully he kind of gets it together. I think, like I said, that series is going to be uphill battle for them anyway after Embiid missed those 2 games.
The way I'm looking at it with him is like, okay, we all know how there are so many underrated things when it comes to sports that people don't take into account. Everybody thinks it's about athleticism and shooting threes. No, intangibles matter. And one of those intangibles is continuity, something James Harden hasn't had in the past year or two. So the way I'm looking at it is like this. Like Kay said, if he comes to the next season with the same BS, then because I'm not on the train, I'm not in the school of thought that he's quote unquote done. All right, you know how I feel about people was getting on Rose, he was done. Boogie, he ain't done. Okay, as a matter of fact, 31 years old, he deserves to be on somebody's roster like right now. So the point I'm trying to make is he has all off season to get things right, getting to know his teammates on and off the court, getting in shape. No excuse. If he comes into next season out of shape, then he just don't want it. Then okay, I'll call him done. But he has no the continuity's there, getting to vibe with his teammates on the court, get to know them better, all of that stuff, get to know his role. Doc's coming back. Health, you gotta. There's no excuses. If all of those ain't checked off on the boxes come next October, then I'm probably starting to get on the other side of the pendulum.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you on that. There's gonna be an interesting off season for them because you can't justify giving him a max contract right now. You just can't just maybe they could work something out where it's a short term prove it type of deal and we can get you that money afterwards, but not right now. That I especially after how thing
I agree.
you look at his age, you look at how he performed in the playoffs. You just if you're Daryl Morey, you can't do that. They also I'll cut them some slack, which Daryl Morey kind of touched on in his exit interview a little bit. With they had to sacrifice a lot of depth to get him there to begin with, so they really have to upgrade this roster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting that conversation because Daryl Morey loves him some James Harden, so you know, like you say, he gave up the house to get him. So we'll see what that conversation goes like when it comes to finances.
And also, I don't know if Meach is in here right now. I'm sorry to report that Doc Rivers will be back next year. For you, Meach, for you, I want to apologize that Doc Rivers will still be the Sixers head coach next season. Shocker. I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked about that one, but it's more content with Meach. That's what I do enjoy about that. Whether he's in the comments or he might call in or something, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm sure Mitra love this. So if there's no Doc around, then I don't know what he might do. So Doc is still around. So
I guess we can go straight to this. Well, yeah, let's go least recent first. So, well, I mean, they're both kind of around the same time. So, we'll start with Milwaukee, Boston, and I'm glad that we got Mike on for this because Mike has been like a central part of this show whenever we talk about Milwaukee because of our guy Chris Middleton, who Kayson still has a slight problem with. But I'm looking at this series. Yes, Milwaukee folded because you could have closed out in Game 6, and then you had Game 7 as well, even though it was back in Boston. But you proved that you could win in Boston. Milwaukee clearly missed Chris Middleton in this series. You got that's for you guys. I'm just saying.
nah,
It broke up. I didn't hear the question.
For a
My
second,
bad.
Rich.
My point was Milwaukee clearly missed Chris Middleton in this series, especially in that half court.
Yeah, definitely. I think I picked them to win in 6, and I think I said that on here before I knew Middleton was out. So if they had Middleton, I think they closed it out in 6. They low-key should have closed it out in 6. I'm slightly confused how they lost that game at home, but obviously Giannis played bad at the second half of that Game 7, and just you lose another shot creator scorer. Actually, their main scorer, if you want to be honest. Obviously, Giannis is their main scorer, but he gets his buckets in a different type of way. They lost their main shooter, shot creator guy, and then you ask more of Drew Holiday, so now he's trying to give you more offense and still give you that great defense. So I think you ask a lot from Pat Connaughton and those type of guys. So they still had a chance to win that series, and I think they should have won it in 6. So obviously, I think Chris Middleton's there. You win. So he probably would have did what he usually does and not show up in game 3 and game 4, but he would have been there in game 6 at home, and I think he would have brought them home, and they would have finished it in 6. So they missed them.
And I'm I'm not breaking any news here. I'm sure everybody on this panel and every basketball fan hates playoff injuries. Injuries, period, because you want to see teams go at it 100%. That being said, obviously Boston's job was easier because Middleton was out, a key contributor to that offense and the scheme, things that they like to run. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a given that they win that series with him because Boston is just they had what the second best record from January on. In the
Yeah,
second half of the
yeah,
season, Dallas
yeah.
had the best record. So, and you see it more in football, but it obviously happens in basketball. It's not always with the best team, but it's the hottest team. And these boys were rolling. Their defense got better. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, your rotations are going to be different with Middleton in there, and it's going to free up Holiday and all of that other stuff. But I guess I would have to see it, and I'm cheating saying that, but I'm not going to just sit here and say, oh, for sure, 100%. I can see how it would have happened if Middleton's in there because, like Kay said, and it's true, he would have had an off game, but then he would have popped for 35. You know what I'm saying? And it could have been Game 6. I just can't get. They had a chance to win it regardless. You know what I'm saying? With him not playing, and I just cannot believe that they lost. They had a chance to close it out twice, and they couldn't do it. But no doubt Middleton was definitely missed. You know what I'm saying? And I just hate to see it. I hope we don't see it. I hope we don't have a situation like that anymore in the playoffs because last year the Lakers they were hurt. This year the Bucks they're out. There's nobody in the finals that was nobody that participated in the finals last year are still in the playoffs anymore this year. So uh, we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, I guess Middleton kind of proved his worth, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
hundred
definitely.
percent. He was a huge part of that championship last year.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. He was definitely missed. So I think it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, if we had Chris Middleton, maybe we would have won. But I picked them to win. Like I said before, I knew Chris Middleton was out, and they still had their chances to win. So you can even say that,
Yeah.
like Mike just said, they might have lost anyway. So
I think when you look at it, Boston is playing a brand of defense right now. They're letting these guys get away with a lot of stuff physically in the
Yeah.
playoffs this year, and Boston is taking advantage of it. Like they're playing a
Yeah.
super. Even as a guy that's a Heat fan who will tell you that the Heat's defense. I mean, you guys know too. The Heat play a defense that's hard nosed in your face. They make you feel it the entire game. Boston's defense, even from a schematic standpoint, might be the best defense in the playoffs right now. I think you saw it, but I thought that was a big reason why KD didn't play that well in that series because he was getting hit with things that he hasn't seen in a while. He's a skinny body, and even with Giannis, like Giannis was getting 40 point, having 40 point games, but if you look at his percentages, they were all down. He was
He was working
feeling
for it.
what the defense was giving him.
Yeah. He was working for it. There ain't no doubt about that. I mean, look, I've been one. I'm glad you brought that up. But as a Heat fan, and I know what you're gonna say. Oh, we'll play anybody. But who would you rather face? A Bucks with or without Middleton, or a C's team?
Well, I feel like you probably get Middleton back at some point in that Heat series. But with that being said, as a strictly, I don't know, it's a hard question to ask because there's a big part of me that wants Boston. For number one, there's a little historic rivalry there since
Mm-hmm.
the Big Three era started, and then also
Mm-hmm.
you got the Pat Riley. Even though Danny Ainge isn't there anymore, you had the Pat Riley, Danny Ainge aspect of
Mm-hmm.
it, Lakers, Celtic. But like you want to see good games. Like I think, especially from a defensive standpoint, this is probably the best thing you're gonna get. The best matchup
Oh
at
yeah.
any type of
Yeah.
outcome. This is probably the best thing you're gonna get. But Miami has one closer. That's Jimmy Butler. Boston, if Tatum's their closer, and if they can't get to Tatum, they'll kick it right out to Jalen Brown, and he can close that thing for you. So they got two closers on that team. I think that's a big difference in this series. And you're wondering who is like my. I've always said Miami has great depth, especially when you can sit Duncan Robinson in a series. That says a lot. But they don't really have that second. Bam Adebayo's the second option, but he's not a closer. Oladipo at this point in his career, he could get back to that, but he's not a closer. So who exactly is it that you expect the Heat to step up in that series against Boston? So with that being said, I would say I would rather play Milwaukee, but either way, just as a fan, you're kind of salivating at watching this.
Of course, of course. I mean, you, and I'm not sitting here calling Spo Bill Belichick, but to me, they're similar in the sense that Bill Belichick wins games because he takes away what you do best. If Boston wins this series, it's not going to be because Tatum took him over the top. Because Spo's going to take Tatum away. Spo's going to take Tatum away. That's what I fully expect. He'll get his. He'll probably end up averaging 25 plus, but it's going to take him like how Greek had to earn his. It's going to have to earn his keep. Is going to be much in the same way I feel for Tatum, because that defense from Miami is going to come in waves. I just puked in my mouth as a Bulls fan, but I mean, you got to give credit when credit is due. But I would like to see what you're, to your point right now, how you say, they have that second guy. Tatum doesn't, I mean, not Tatum, Jaylen Brown doesn't always have to do that. So how many times is he going to have to be dependent on, okay, Tatum's gone or he's not here this possession and I got to jack this tray up, in the clutch. I'm interested to see if he's going to be able to pull that off and be the clutch guy.
But Kay, before you go, I just wanted to say this. I'm actually I definitely hear what you're saying, but I've been very impressed with Jaylen Brown as a leader on this team this year. To me, even Tatum might be the better player, but Brown is the leader on this team. The way he's responded to certain things in these playoffs has been like how he stepped up when they needed him to against Brooklyn, especially early on when who was the rookie that was it Cam Thomas? Who's the young guy on the Nets that made the comment about them not having Williams?
I think Bruce Brown did that.
I'm drawing a blank.
It might have been Bruce Brown. It might have been Bruce Brown. So for him to hear stuff like that and respond the way he does, or even in the Milwaukee series, they get punched in the mouth game one, and Tatum is struggling, but you see Brown step up big when you need him to.
That's fair. And Marcus Smart played. He looked like OK State Marcus Smart in Game 7.
Marcus Smart has been a guy that I don't know if I said this to you guys before. It's like I never viewed Terry Rozier as a starting point guard in this league. I look at him very similar as how I look at Reggie Jackson, even though Reggie Jackson is a starting point guard again with the Clippers. These are guys that you want on your team, but if they're your starting point guard, you have to look to upgrade your roster. I used to feel that way about Marcus Smart, and I know traditionally he's a shooting guard, but I have no problem with Marcus Smart starting on this. Marcus Smart can be your starting point guard on a championship team, and that's exactly what these Celtics are.
I think so too. I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Definitely. I think Brown is definitely their heart and soul. I think when he's playing well, he definitely gets them energized. You see he's usually screaming or pumping the crowd up. Kind of not to Draymond, but you know how Draymond's kind of
I see that. Yeah,
heart and soul. So I think when he's playing well, it gives them a certain edge. And you see that in the games that he played really well.
But Rich, I'm surprised to hear you say like who's going to be that guy once Jimmy's gone, because in this series, everybody's different, and the Heat, they have, in my opinion, all right, and I'm starting to change it a little bit, but for the longest time, and Jimmy Butler's my favorite player in the NBA, all right, for the longest time I've been saying that he's not the one that first option is going to be able to take a championship team to win it all. Like, I'm starting to change that tune. I'm glad
you did. I'm glad you did, because I don't want to argue with this. I don't want to argue with this no more.
But you can't. You. I don't think that I've been wrong saying that for the past couple of years, because I don't think
he's elevated his game.
Yes.
I've heard Max.
Recently.
I've heard Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max talk about this too. Where how many times in NBA history have you heard of a guy who comes in and he's really just a defensive stopper? Like nothing else, and then but he's not like an elite defensive guy. Turns into the defensive anchor for your team, then becomes more of a facilitator for your team, and then eventually turns into a guy that you can look to close games. That's exactly what Jimmy Butler is. The only thing close to it will be Draymond, but the missing aspect of Draymond is that's not your closer on it. He is not a closer on a team. Jimmy right now is everything that you need him to be.
Rich, he's always had it. He just needed an opportunity.
He's a different type of guy.
In 2011, this guy right here, me right here, I said that he was going to be an all-star, and I got laughed at. Okay, I just want to put that out there. 2011. All right, been in the year in the league 12 years, but what I'm trying to say is I'm surprised that you're saying that for this series because I know every series is different. But Bam can be that guy because look, I think that Horford Bam matchup is an underrated one. Okay, I know people are gonna take, oh well, Bam, he has the athletic advantage. But Horford is a smart player, been around the block. Okay, he's gonna bring Bam out the paint, and I'm not saying Bam can't guard in the perimeter. He's a top 5 defender, maybe at least when it comes to bigs or whatever. But that matchup is intriguing because Horford is going to be that old man on the court with the bags in it, the tricks in it, coming out the bag and stuff like that. But I think that Bam should be able to take advantage of that matchup offensively. So maybe he could be that guy because he should win that matchup.
I think this is a series where when they will miss Kyle Lowry. I'm not sure when he's coming back or if he's coming back.
Yeah, he's a big one.
I think this is a series where they'll definitely need him, that leadership, the ability to create his own shot. Like Rich was saying, if Jimmy can't get that last shot, I think that shot probably goes to Kyle Lowry. And with him being out, I think that hurt him.
And remember who's going to be guarding him too now. Remember who's going to be guarding him too now.
I'm Smart is something. Smart. I don't want to get into a debate with Marcus Smart. As I still don't agree with him winning Defensive Player of the Year. I also think he has a tendency to flop a bit, over exaggerate a little bit to get them calls. But I mean, if you're Miami, you gotta hope Oladipo. If you're Miami, you're happy with what you got from Oladipo to this point. He's shown you a lot more than you expected, which is good. But you gotta hope, especially in this series, that he can go back to what he was in Indiana. If he's anything like he was in Indiana, you got a go-to guy if you can't get it to Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I think
see how much Duncan plays.
This would be the series for Oladipo to kind of show that he's 100% back and he can be that guy again. So the opportunity would be there for him. Let's see how it goes.
Well, and also this is one of those things like if you're kind of nerdy like me, where you look at coaching matchups and how that, because I'm a guy that believes coaching changes at parts of games too. For me, I think Ime Udoka has been a phenomenal coach to this point. He's the new guy on the block. He's come in and just hit the ground running with what he's been able to do for this team schematically. I said it last year or the year before when the last time these two teams faced off. I just couldn't wait to see Spo against Brad Stevens. I actually feel the same way with him against Udoka right now.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see the Celtics coach. I can't get his name. I don't want to mess it up.
Ime Udoka.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see, especially what he showed us against the Nets and then here against the Bucks. And it's funny because he was on the Nets coaching staff last year, so he was there for that Game 7 against the Bucks at home. So it's cool to see the kind of adjustments he's made from there. But I think he's really came out since this year started. Since the year changed to 2022, I think he's shown us that he's a great coach. He's here to stay. And in the playoffs, I think he just took it to another level. So it's going to be fun to see what he draws up to slow down Jimmy. He slowed down Giannis a little bit. He slowed down KD. What does he do for Jimmy and how Jimmy responds?
The man is winning on and off the court. Isn't he married to or engaged to was it Holly Berry?
No, not Holly Berry.
One of them fine women, man. The man winning on and off the court. I can't remember who it is, but he's winning.
I didn't even know he had a supermodel wife.
Yeah, it's the actress.
Forget who it is. I don't know why I thought it was Holly Berry.
No, it's not Holly Berry.
Only downfall is he has to live in Boston for half the year, but besides that, I guess
Neil Long.
Jesus.
Neil Long is his girlfriend. He's in a committed relationship to Neil Long.
And that brother.
Explains
not bad. That's not a bad way to live at all. It's not a bad way to live at all.
No. Like I said, the only down part is I guess live in Boston. Besides that, I would say.
Yeah, that is a big downfall. Let's get into this Phoenix Mavs series. I really still am trying to put this thing together. If you're Phoenix, there's a lot to dissect here. There's a lot to dissect here. Number one, you were up 2-0 on this. So you were not only were you the favorites coming in, but we all expected you to wrap it. I mean, once it went up 2-0, I thought they were going to finish this in 5 games. So that's one thing. Chris Paul. So I didn't know Chris Paul's birthday was during this series. Game
Oh, really?
three, I think it might have been
37.
game two, game three. He turned 37, and he was never the same after that 37th birthday. So that's another thing. A big reason why they lost is because they didn't get the Chris Paul that they needed.
Right.
In I'm sorry. In this series. Once that happened, Ayton hasn't really been much of a factor for him. They're definite. I 100% believe he's not a Phoenix Sun next season.
I'll take him.
I'm not. I heard there's a lot of teams that are willing to pay him the money he's asking for. But they couldn't do anything with Booker. Like Booker couldn't do much, especially in that closeout game. That was embarrassing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Booker couldn't do much in that closeout game. And then, obviously, Luka goes off. So this series told me a lot. I have a lot of questions for Phoenix, number one. But I still feel the way I do about Luka Doncic. I don't think you at presently with him playing the way he does, you can win a championship because it reminds me of James Harden in Houston a lot, and the team is very similar as well. But I am looking at Jason. I always actually thought Jason Kidd was a solid head coach. I liked him in Brooklyn. I was sad to see him go in Milwaukee because he like Mark Jackson built this thing. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what Giannis is as a player, especially as a ball handler, that's Jason Kidd all day. But to watch him put that defensive game plan together, where going into the fourth quarter, I think Booker only had 2 points. That made me look at Jason Kidd in a whole new light.
Yeah, I think even if the Phoenix won this series, I had a few questions about them going forward. I think the fact that they couldn't win a game on the road this series showed a lot to me. Obviously, they end up losing it now, so there's more questions. But I had some questions. I think I tweeted it after Game 6. Like, Phoenix not winning a game on the road this series showed, I got to get a game on the road. Series would have been over. So that's something. And then you get that blowout. If I'm Phoenix, I would try to bring back Ayton, but obviously they have some issues there. But
yeah,
I think these last 2 years was their opportunity. Best record in the league both years, best record in the league both years. Bron's out of it, KD's out of it. I mean, obviously the Warriors were standing in their way the next year, but the Clippers get healthy next year. They get Kawhi, they get PG back. So I think it's only going to get harder from here. So missed opportunity, blown opportunity, whatever it is. See how it goes for them going forward.
It's definitely a missed opportunity because you mentioned the Clippers, and I forgot about them because as you were saying that, I was saying Memphis is coming, New Orleans is coming, okay, Minnesota's coming, okay.
Clippers made some fantastic moves to set up for a championship run next year too.
Right. So it's not only that, and then you got to wonder if who's calling. I don't know who that is. You got to wonder if Ayton's back, if he is okay, cool. But then the leadership aspect that lends to me, in my opinion, a lot to how or why they couldn't win a game on the road, not one game. And so, no, I'm not. I don't know what happened with Chris Paul. I mean, I think a lot of it was Jason Kidd, but in my eyes, by no means is he, just taking a step back or anything like that. At least not offensively. It might be defensively. Okay, Father Time's undefeated and everything like that. All right, cool, but he's going to be Chris Paul, all right? They're Phoenix right now because he's there, all right? And I know they had a great bubble or they went undefeated in the bubble or anything, but they ain't making the finals last year without Chris Paul. I'm sorry. And so they ain't having the best record in the league 2 years without Chris Paul. I'm sorry about that. Decent team, okay, cool. But I hope they keep it together. I would like to see them because, again, I want to see everybody healthy. But my Bulls need a big man too, so we'll see.
Phoenix. Well, I've been saying this since they got Chris Paul, though, that Phoenix needs to find a replacement for him sooner or later. It's the same conversation we had earlier with the Cole quarterback thing. You need to find a viable replacement for Chris Paul sooner than later because he's closer to the end. So even if you can get something out, like the Knicks were able to get something out of Jason Kidd, even though he wasn't the same player that he once was. If you can still get something out of him, that's good. But no, you gotta find a legit point guard that does. You want a guy that does the things for you that Chris Paul unlocked so much for this team. The talents of Ayton, Devin Booker. They had a lot of young talent on there. that definitely just needed that game changer on the floor. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what sucks about them not ending up with the second overall pick like we all thought they would. Because right now we'd be talking about Ja Morant and Devin Booker,
Mm.
but that to me is number one what they got to do. It doesn't seem like they're gonna get Ayton back, which was a huge stupid mistake of theirs to not pay him when it was time to pay him. And I mean, his owner has to. Their owner, he wants to show that he's not a cheap team owner, right? Like you have Devin Booker, who's gonna be extension eligible soon, or just about around this time. There's a huge possibility that Aiton's not coming back. Like, let's go ahead, show something. I even think Mike Bridges is due for a contract as well. So let's go, show us what you got.
Well, I was on the side of things where I didn't think that Aiton. I when it was time, like, oh, pay Aiton. I was on the side of the fence that I was like, I don't know about giving him all that money yet because I don't see it. And to me, I think we talked about this earlier in the chat. Yes, he's a better, not a better. He's 100% better offensively than DeAndre Jordan was when he was with the Clippers, or what's the name over in Houston, Capella. All right, but he's still not he could create for himself, in the post score and everything by himself, but he's still dependent on Chris Paul, if you ask me. So I got to see. And remember, James Jones, didn't he win an award a couple years ago for
He won
best
executive of the year.
executive of the year? So listen, maybe he has a plan. All right, our boy from UM, baller at American Senior High School, local kid, went to Miami and all of that.
Four-time NBA champion, three-time NBA champion.
My God.
James Jones.
So we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I'm wondering to see what his plans are. But when that Aiton talk was coming up, I was hesitant as to giving him his due. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but that's how I felt.
I guess I felt more that they should give him the money just to keep the team intact. The team seemed like it was going
Okay.
in the right direction,
Okay.
so you kind of want to keep that going for however long you can, and then in the future you figure that out whether you have to trade him or whatever you got to do. At least you get something for him. You give this team a chance. You give him a 3-4 year window, 5 year window, whatever that is, and then
That's true.
go from there. So that's why I was saying you keep them together, just because the chemistry, everything seemed like it was going well. They were winning games and stuff. So obviously we don't know what that looks like now because they didn't give him the money, and they just
Yeah.
lost the series the way they lost the series. So obviously some tweaks have to come, but I still don't see how they get better at the big, getting rid of him at this point. Who
No.
they gonna get? I mean, maybe Boogie Cousins will go over there.
Oh no, you don't. Want to get better? Who's here now?
Yeah, you could
Nah,
probably
no.
try some smaller replacements or something, but I think
I mean, you got JaVale McGee over there. JaVale McGee's got some experience.
full time though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just messing with you. I agree. Did y'all want to jump into this talk? Did y'all want to jump into this talk about Pat Bev this morning, or y'all want to just get to these conference finals and end this thing?
I'm hoping you get into the Pat Bev talk, but go ahead, man. You
Well,
running the show, bro.
you guys know what he said. You know what he said. I mean, y'all can start it off if you want.
I'll
Go
start
ahead,
off.
Oh, okay.
I think he was straight hating, and then we sent a couple things to the chat. You seen what the other players had to say, and I think a lot of players are gonna come out and stick up for Chris Paul just for the fact that the players have a problem with the media anyway. Then now there's a lot of players that's in the media, and the players want to protect each other. So it's like if another player is gonna go online and say this stuff about another player, then we can't stop the media people from doing the same thing because we're kind of bashing each other. So I think a lot of players will come out and defend him for that fact. But I think Patrick Beverly's been out of the playoffs for weeks. Like whatever the case is, and Matt Barnes said this, he's not that guy. So he's talking like he's one of those guys. Like obviously he's a defender and people whatever, that's what he does, but he has no defensive player of the year awards. I don't know how many all conference or defensive teams that he has, but Chris Paul has like 10 of them. So I don't think he has as much as Chris Paul. So whether your beef is with him or not, I don't even understand how he ended up on TV this morning. Like where'd he come from? Where did he come from? He's never been on there. He sent out a couple of tweets last night, and they get him to New York in 10 hours. I don't know where he came from. He went on there. He woke up and chose violence. And to me, he came on there hating a little bit. Now you could go on there and be honest and be critical, but to come on there and because he went on there like Chris Paul's done, get rid of him, and then when they brought up James Harden, give him the super max, give him the super max. I don't care.
That was funny.
I'm like, you're contradicting yourself a little bit. So obviously he's playing a little favoritism there.
They got a legit beef. I think Pat Bev is very salty that he got traded for Chris Paul. That's the only thing I could think of. But there's been no other interactions other than post trade. So that's what it comes down to for me. I mean, you remember they had the fight. Yeah, they had the fight in the locker room. Not even the game. Remember what they had that secret underground tunnel to to get through the locker rooms at Staples Center.
That was with the Rockets.
They had that.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I don't. Other than that, I don't get it. You know, and he was just hilarious this whole morning. I mean, you went and disrespected the heck out of Grayson. You guys know the video, Stephen A. Smith. That's not right. That's not right. You know, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. Like, you know, he completely went at Grayson Allen's neck this morning when he was like, "Stop it! Like, why you bringing up dudes we don't talk about in our own locker rooms?" So, you know, there was that. He said what he said about Chris Paul, which is factually inaccurate, to be honest with you, with the whole defensive thing. And again, I agree with Matt Barnes too. I thought that was over the line, specifically when he's talking about, you know, there's a difference between, you know, being critical when you're in the media, you know, for strictly, you know, analysis purposes, and then when you think a guy is just, you know, going at him personally. When he says I go to bed at like 10 o'clock or something the night before I gotta play Chris Paul, and I'll go to bed at 8, tell nobody to hit me up when I gotta play Steph Curry. Like, come on now, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, go ahead,
Mike. This is what the social media account was talking about. They said Mike has some things to get off his chest.
This. All right, look, you're 100% right, Kay. What you said about, in my opinion, there's a band of brothers. You know, there's only so many hundred guys that are NBA players that could be called themselves NBA players in the whole world, right? So you gotta stick up for each other, especially when the media is the monster that they are. 100% agree with that. But at the same time, I'm sorry, he could have, and Rich, you're right. He could have said it in a whole different way, said maybe even the same things in a whole different way. The way he came off was a little bit, a lot, you know, standoffish or whatever. But I'm sorry, man. I think he said a lot of things that people wanted to say, but they're not, because of who we're talking about. And who we're talking about is Chris Paul. For the longest time, and y'all saw the clip that I put in the chat, you know, Chris Paul, and the only reason I'm going to say low key is because he's liked, and it's never talked about in the media. But if I could take the low key part out, I will. He's low key a dirty player. He's low key a dirty player. And the reason I feel that way is that, I mean, I wish we could put it on here, but that video that I sent you guys, he's been doing this since Wake Forest. You know what I'm saying? And you want to know who Chris Paul is? And it's hard for me to talk about him because I like him as a player. I just don't like when he gets into these mental fits that he has, and he kind of loses his mind. Like, you saw what he did to LeBron, and that's his banana boat butt buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that a lot of this is who Chris Paul is. You go to the park, you play ball. 3 of us have all done it. There's always the old guy out there that can still play with the young dudes. And the old guy out there is killing the young dudes because he got that old man game. All right. And he's smart and he knows how to get away with stuff. That's what Chris Paul does. He knows he's smart. He knows he was the head guy in the NBA, in the Players Association. So a lot of guys look up to him. And with that, I think he knows he can get away with a lot of stuff. All right. And he's already one of the top point guards ever all time, because he is. And like you said, like how we said, Phoenix is not Phoenix without him. But and then you saw what he did with OKC. But he does things and it's like, oh, who, me? What? I can't stand that, man. I can't stand that. And like I say, I use the phrase low-key dirty because he gets away with it and nobody talks about it. Let that be Draymond. Pat Bev was right. If that was him, some of the stuff in that clip that I sent you guys, like, that's being looked at and he's flagrant too, you're out. Pat Bev ain't lying about that stuff. Now he could have been amped up with his chest puffed out a little bit because he's mad about something. He's mad about something. Maybe his wife thinks Chris Paul is cute. I don't know, whatever. But like he went over the line. But the things that he was saying, some of the subject coming out of his mouth, they were right, man. And there's this, you know how when you try to like somebody and they always do something to kind of turn you off. That's Chris Paul to me. That's Chris Paul to me.
I think to what Richard's saying, he has some points to CP's getting older, but he made it. He came out like this has been years of people just blowing by CP. Like maybe
that's not true.
Maybe
That's
this series, maybe the last couple years. He's 37. What the video say? I'm 36. Exactly. I'm 30. He's 36. People's this 18-year-olds in the league blowing by him. What do you want him to do? But like he just came out like he never played defense, and everyone know that. You go to bed at 2 a.m. when you're playing him the next day. If I was on the show, I'd be like,
Go ahead.
Nah, if I was on the show, I'd have been like, what time you go to bed to play Westbrook? That's my question.
Well, I'm surprised they let him get away with that. You know, Stephen A. didn't have nothing for. I think he was just like, come on. They were talking about. But when they were talking about Booker, he was like, "Come on now," because he was going. They just didn't like Phoenix. Period. I mean, Anthony Edwards had the video too. I don't know if y'all saw that. He had the video where he was talking about how they were jawing at them, saying we weren't gonna make the playoffs and nothing like that. But he had words for Booker too about like why are we talking about him like this when he's only been in the playoffs one other time. And then Stephen A. did say, "Come on now, he does got game." And he's like, "All right, he does, but." You know, like I'm surprised that's all they really checked him on. Like JJ, who's usually on point with the NBA arguments for every player, will let you know something. He kind of said things to him, but he was still, letting him get off what he had to get off. I was a little surprised at that.
You want to know why? Because, okay, this is another thing that, again, the way he came off and said it, could have said it. He has no future in TV, by the way. Well, maybe he does because he brings that drama factor.
I think ESPN, that brings people in. Even if it's for a short period of time, because, Paul Pierce was like that.
I think he definitely has a future in podcasting. They'll give him a podcast right now.
That's true. No, that's 100% true. Yeah. I mean, hell, Draymond got a podcast and he's in the middle of the playoffs. I don't understand that, but
Draymond going live on air like 30 minutes after he got kicked out that one game.
But I mean, the other thing is because I never thought about it until he said it, and if he's obviously sitting here speaking for people, because he said I was talking to Paul George last night and he wasn't going to bring up Paul George, but he said F it, So if he sat here and A, brought up Paul George's name, and B, said everybody in the NBA knows that he doesn't defend, you're right, Kay. That had to be recently. I don't think that's been a 5-10 year thing. Actually, I know it hasn't. But the other part is, I never thought about Phoenix being that team that ain't nobody scared of. And if you think about it, look at that roster, it's true. Who scares you? Who, not in terms of a playmaker, but you don't put the fear into nobody. It's
supposed to be Booker, but you're right. It's not like, especially when you look at what they did to him yesterday. So right. He's kind of showing more to be that B type player, which we already kind of thought he was anyway with how the team was presently constructed. But no, they don't really have that 1A guy that you got to get ready for every night.
I think Booker's that guy. I think Booker's that.
He's supposed to be. He's supposed to be. But I mean, yeah. I love his game. I love his game. He is supposed to be that guy that you every night gotta be ready for. But maybe he's just not. I mean, he's had the success. He's played in NBA Finals now. But maybe he's still not there yet. Maybe he's as weird as that is to say, because he's been in the league for a while. He just started having taste in the playoffs last year.
Right. Because of Paul. He definitely needs that point guard. That's for sure.
I think we got to give the Mavs a lot of credit. I think the Mavs defense last night was incredible.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think Booker struggled a little bit in this series, but I think he was still the book that we know him to be. I just think last night the Mavs were guarding everybody. Like nobody could get a shot. The Suns had 37 points at halftime. I mean, 20. What was it, like 37, 27?
Yeah, it was bad.
It was 27.
Luka Doncic at one point in that game had as much points on his stat sheet as the entire Suns team.
He had 27 at the half, and the Suns had 27 at the half.
The Mavs,
that was just
I think the book could be that guy, but the Mavs last night deserved a lot of credit. I don't know what Jason Kidd drew up or what he
That's what I'm
told them,
saying.
but
That's what I'm
whatever he
saying.
told them, he had them ready for war. I don't know who would have beat them last night, to be
This
honest.
Well,
this
I mean, look at how he coaches. You saw the clip. I'm sure you guys were watching the game. He was like in the game. Roll here, roll here. Screen to your left. He was like on the court. He
with
was like
Jason
literally on the court, on the
Jason
court.
that's one of the reasons why I like Jason Kidd so much as a head coach, because if you think about it, he's not doing anything different than he was when he was a floor general. He's just on the sidelines with it now. And to me, I don't know if you guys agree. I got Jason Kidd as the second greatest point guard of all time. This guy, his career and CP's career kind of mirrored each other in what they do. Every team Jason Kidd has been on has got exponentially better with him being on it.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
when his time at the Mavericks, when he was drafted there, um, then going to Phoenix, he definitely was super solid in Phoenix. Turned that thing around. The New Jersey Nets had Stephon Marbury on their team the year prior to acquiring Jason Kidd. They got rid of Stephon Marbury, bring Jason Kidd in there. They go from a team they were either like just missed the playoffs, so they were an 8 seed, to one of the top teams in the league and went to 2 NBA finals. Then he goes back to Dallas, wins a championship over there. Obviously, Dirk is the guy. They had a lot of different pieces, but Jason Kidd,
They don't win it without him.
yeah, they were a big. He was a difference maker on that team. And even the Knicks, the last time we saw the Knicks in the playoff, their point guard was Jason Kidd.
I mean, they made it last
One of-
year, but
yeah.
last time they won a series, Jason Kidd was their point guard.
You're right. You're right. They did go last year, but the last time that we were like, watch out for them Knicks, like really in the playoffs with Jason Kidd was on that team.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're right. CP3 need to take his ass to a winning team. I know
It's not happening,
Rich.
Mike. It's not happening.
he need
It's
to
not
do it,
happening.
man.
It's
And
not
look,
happening.
I'm not the titles type of guy, but and look, I just talked about me not even liking the dude that much, but do it, bro. Like, be selfish. You know what I'm saying? Don't be anti Dame Lillard, okay? And do it. Do it.
Let's go ahead and jump into this conference finals match, this Western Conference Finals matchup, then head on out of here. So you got the 3-time NBA champion Golden State Warriors back in full effect. Game 6, Clay showing up in that Memphis series. Draymond playing big. Steph Curry, at least in that closeout game, he definitely showed up when you need him to, but he's had his struggles a little bit in that last series. And then you have the Mavericks. Now, here's my thing. Everybody knows how I feel about the Golden State Warriors. The Mavericks, you guys also know how I feel about them. I don't think you can win a championship playing the way Luka Doncic plays right now. I said what I said earlier. I'm still not all the way there on the Warriors, though. I think that the way that they won that series against Memphis was very glaring in what they struggle with. A lot of Memphis points that kept them in that game was off of turnovers. And it was like back-to-back games that you saw that from Golden State. That's something, especially against this Mavs team, I'm not going to lie, when you got a kid like Luka who he's definitely at least top 5 of these young guys, he's 1 or 2 to me. And then Jason Kidd, who we just talked about as well, I could see that being a problem. And it might make me take Dallas to go to the NBA Finals this year. Maybe.
You want to go ahead with this, K?
I'm gonna pick the Warriors. I got the Warriors, and
I feel like I'm the only one on the Dallas thing, but I knew it coming in.
I'm impressed by Dallas. I like what I seen from them. I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back from being down 2-0 the way they did against the Suns. I think the Warriors get a game on the road. I don't think the Warriors don't get out that series without winning a game on the road. The Warriors now have home court advantage. I'm actually afraid that we are back where we were about 3-4 years ago when Golden State is back on top. And so I got Golden State in about maybe 5 or 6. Unfortunately, I think like I said this only before. I think I may be traumatized with what Golden State has done in the past. I think it's one of those things where like I don't like you like it's like damn. We might be back where we were 5 years ago. So you don't want it to happen, and the more that you don't want it to happen, it ends up happening sometimes. So I think the Warriors get it. We'll see them back in the finals again, which is enough. And then on the east side, I'm gonna go Miami in 6.
Mm.
That obviously I was adopted by Miami, so that could be part of the reason. But I think Spoelstra, kind of what Mike was saying earlier, he's gonna draw up something to slow down Tatum. I think he's not gonna do it like the Bucks did it and leaving guys open like Grant Williams and giving them a chance to get going. He had home court advantage. They got him a few years ago in the bubble, so I'm gonna get Miami. Actually, I'm gonna take Miami in 7. I think Boston will be a formidable foe. I think going up to Boston would be tough for Miami to get a win. So I'm gonna go Boston. I mean Miami in 7.
I definitely think that series is going 7. I don't have my mind made up as to who. Yeah, I know who I want to win, who I want to see win. But K man, like I'm excited because I like to see dominance in every sport, no matter how good or how long they're good. It doesn't matter to me. It's exciting because I'm a traditionalist, and so I'm going to change it really quick, just really quick to college football. I like all the blue bloods to be good. Same thing with basketball, like or football. I'm not mad with the Patriots being mad, and they're still not done just because Brady's gone. We saw what they had a good season last year, but we knew this was going to happen with Golden State. We knew that once they got healthy, that core wasn't going anywhere. That core wasn't going anywhere, and they just needed a few select pieces around them to get back to being a top 3 seed or back in the Western Conference Finals. So we knew this was going to happen, and it should have happened a couple of years ago. But then, Clay messed up. His what was it? His Achilles. The first injury was the ACL, then it was his Achilles, and then before that, I think Steph, with his wrist and everything, it was just a string of bad luck for them. But
Still don't have Wiseman back, by the way.
there you go. I think this series goes 6, and it's not because of Luka. I think it's because of Jason Kidd. Okay, I think Jason Kidd gets this series to go 6 games, and I think the main reason they lose it, Rich, is because of how you said how you really can't win a championship the way that Luka plays ball, and I think that they're going to get in a hole. And it's always been to me that the Warriors' best defense is their offense. You look up, you're down 3. Oh, hell, you're down 12. So that throws your offensive game plan out. And I know the NBA is a game of runs and everything like that, but Mavs down 12 to that team, I think Luka's going to, kind of try to do a little bit too much and, whatever. But I won't be surprised to see it go 5. Jason Kidd is the reason I'm picking the Warriors in 6. But this was expected if you ask me, man. This was expected if you asked me about the Warriors, coming back to form.
I'm still worried. Like I said, I think that those, especially when you're turning over the ball like that, that's a huge issue. Like if they bring that into this series, that's going to be a big problem. Um, but I see I'm like torn on it. Like I honestly don't know who to go with because the turnovers are a thing that really bothers me. Like I said, I still feel like we haven't gotten the big 3 to full form either.
No, they haven't.
Like,
No, you're right.
So we don't know if we're gonna get that. Like you hope. Obviously, like if your best player is Jordan Poole, as much as I like Jordan Poole right now, like that's a problem. That's still
not
a
your
problem.
best player, though, Rich.
No, in this series though, in this
Oh.
series, if it is, then that's
Oh,
a
okay, my
problem.
bad. Okay,
But
okay.
at the same time, like I feel how I feel about Dallas and Luka Doncic, but the only thing that's keeping me from picking the Warriors aside from the turnovers, I don't think that this Warriors is that same Warriors team that beat the Houston Rockets.
They're not. They're not. I mean, because the formula for the Warriors in the playoffs. You got to get physical at least with Steph. You get physical with him, you throw him off a little bit. It's going to change some things for him. He'll get acclimated. Look when they played Cleveland the first time. You had what's his name, getting physical with him, and it only took Steph until game 3 or 4 to get acclimated. What's the point guard with
Shumpert?
No, white dude starting point guard for Cleveland Cavs in 2015.
Iladova.
Dellavedova, whatever the hell.
Dilladova.
Him. Yeah. So he was getting physical with him. Two things, and I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot. Those Warriors, look, I'm not a Warriors fan, and the way they turn the ball over is so frustrating to watch because first of all, it's the vets doing it, okay? You know, you expect better from them. Number two, they lost the NBA Finals because of it, all right? You would think that they stopped with the Harlem Globetrotter stupidity, right? It's annoying. It's crazy. It's some stupid stuff. All of that, Rich, and they're not playing their best ball. They're looking like a C JV team, and look what they're at. Look where they're at. They're still there, and I get it. Ja didn't play, but they still made it to the conference finals. So they haven't been their best selves in the playoffs. They made it to the conference finals. They're going to get better. I do think that when it comes time, they'll shore up the turnovers, and a lot of it is Dre. I don't know what the hell his problem is, but I think there was a stat he had like I don't know how many assists compared. His ratio is terrible, but they're playing bad, and they still in the conference finals. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I think
because they know they could get better.
I think that turnovers is an issue, but that's always been an issue with them. I think when they
has it been this glaring though? I understand it's been an issue, but has it been this glaring? I don't remember talking about it this much.
I think Memphis defense deserves a lot of credit. I think you got to give Dylan Brooks. He does a great job on Stephen Curry. I think you got to give Desmond Bane. He did as well as a job as you can on Klay Thompson in those games. I think Memphis defense made it look a little worse during that series. I don't know if Dallas can get that same defense. I don't know if they have the pieces or the players to get that same defense. Now the Warriors will still turn the ball over, but I don't think it'll be as glaring and as much as it was in that Memphis series.
At that clip.
You know what? Y'all, I'm gonna take Golden State in 7. I'm gonna take Golden State in 7. I'm gonna take Golden State in 7. I think that we're gonna see some stuff from Luka Doncic. I'm gonna give him because I'm telling you, certain people in these streets, man, they think I just don't respect Luka Doncic out here. I respect him. I think he's a great player, but you can't win a championship playing that way. So I'm gonna take the Warriors. I'm gonna take the Warriors in 7 games, home court advantage. I don't know if y'all giving the East enough credit. We talk about defense. You got 2 of the best defensive teams over on that side, and especially. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if I'd pick Miami against them, but I think it would be a dragged-out series against Miami. If Boston goes to the NBA Finals, people are going to think, I know my people back home are going to puke that I'm going to say this. The Boston Celtics might win if they go to the NBA Finals, I would pick the Boston Celtics to beat the Golden State Warriors.
You wouldn't be crazy saying it. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think that's a crazy thing to say.
I'm not sure who would have home court advantage in there, but I think Boston, especially if they get past Miami, I think Boston shows that and I think they've shown this already kind of. They're a formidable defense. I think Udoka has shown that he can draw up something and stop those guys. Now, the Warriors could be a different beast with the way they play, a lot of ball movement, all those shooters and things like that. So that'll be another challenge for him, but I think they have it. They have the pieces. They have the star. They have the supporting cast. They have the defense. Seems like they have the coach. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, Golden State may have me traumatized. I probably got Golden State winning it. And with the Mavs, I think the Mavs played well. They got here.
I think the Warriors would have home court, by the way. Just saw their records. They got 53 wins. Celtics got 51.
That's so crazy. So Phoenix going out.
This is the first postseason, I think, since the 70s where the teams that are remaining had the lowest win percentages.
Oh, wow.
With Phoenix going out, that changes so much for Golden State. They wasn't supposed to have home court advantage in the conference finals. That would have been 2 series back-to-back, no home court advantage. It's so crazy. I think Dallas, they played well. They got here. I think Golden State is going to show that championship mentality. I think it's going to be their first time, this team being in the conference finals for Dallas. So Mike did say something that changed my mind a little bit about Coach Kidd drawing up something that can get him maybe 2 games. So I'm going to say Golden State in 6.
You don't think Golden State, as being the champions that they have been in the past decade, even with that, they have a chip on their shoulder because remember, people counted them out after Toronto. They were done. You know, everybody wanted to knee jerk again. Okay, so and what did Dre say? Y'all think this dynasty's over? You remember that press conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't over.
Let us get back there again.
Don't let us. So they want to prove people wrong. So I think they're going to elevate their play as the competition gets better. And this is, I don't want to say a step down because I respect the hell out of Luka, but but it ain't gonna be Memphis. It ain't gonna be Memphis. I
Yeah,
know
I
you
don't think
got to
it's gonna
go
be
in seven
Memphis.
games. I know you got to go in 7 games, Rich. But when I say step down in competition, I don't think that defensive intensity is going to be
I hear
there.
you. I hear you.
And that's me giving. Look what I just said. I think Kid is going to give him at least 2 games or whatever. But I think it's going to be a good series. I think Luka's going to play lights out. And if he has that second guy, who knows? Who knows? Who knows is going who it can be? But I think the Warriors they got something to prove, and we have yet to see the best of them in the playoff postseason.
I wonder if he can play with a six because it was. I don't blame Porzingis, by the way, for the lack of production in Dallas. If you look at a lot of because remember when those two first got together before Porzingis' first injury, they looked lights out together. He
Man,
comes
I wish they
back.
would have stayed together.
He comes back and to K's point a lot when you watch Dallas play, which is what really shaped my opinion on the whole. You can't win with Luka playing this way. Porzingis is just standing in the corner, like everybody else on the team, watching him do what he does. He doesn't really have the ball in his hand. Who can you really pair him up that he would work well? That would work well doing that. Again, we saw this, and this is what I mean. We saw this before in Houston with James Harden. You paired him up with Chris Paul. You
But
paired
that
him up with
worked.
Russell. It
But I,
didn't though.
I,
It didn't though.
I think
They
it's
They
didn't.
didn't win
You
a
were supposed to
title,
win a
but it worked.
championship.
But hold up, you that's the same person that you saying that Brooklyn worked, and they didn't win the championship because
But
you the first one to say that Brooklyn would have won it all if they was healthy.
because James Harden was not playing the same way he was playing in Houston.
I,
He was
I,
getting his numbers, but he was deferring. He was deferring in the way that you would expect a floor general to defer.
I think this situation is slightly different for the fact that Jason Kidd is not Mike D'Antoni. I think Jason Kidd has found a way, especially this postseason, to get Brunson his touches, get especially Dinwiddie his touches, and Dinwiddie is good. He fits a little better than maybe Porzingis did because he'll space the floor and then you can give him the ball. He can get some things in transition. He can do a little more. Well, I guess Porzingis can do something for himself, but it just seems like he fits a little more as like a guard next to him because he can spot up and shoot when need be. And Porzingis could do that, but you wanted more from him, so it created like a different like throw it down in the post type of thing. It took the ball out of Luka's hand a little more. So I think Jason Kidd has figured out where it's not going to be all Luka all the time in a sense. Now it's a little Brunson here and there. It's a little Spencer Dinwiddie here and there. That's why when they lost those first 2 games, Brunson wasn't playing as well. And I said it on here. I'm like, yo, they need to find a way to get Brunson some more touches. Maybe stagger his minutes
Yeah.
with Luka and play Luka more with Spencer Dinwiddie because Dinwiddie can play with both of those guys. He can play
Yeah,
with
yeah,
just him
yeah.
and Brunson. He can play with him and Luka. He'll spot up more when he's just him and Luka, and then when it's him and Brunson, they'll go back and forth. Okay, your turn, my turn, type of thing. But they'll both get their touches.
My thing with that offense is what Boston's problem was, what seemed to be a few years ago. It's my turn, your turn. You know what I'm saying? It's Dinwiddie, then it's Luka, then it's Brunson, vice versa. Whatever, and that ain't gonna work.
Not with the
It's worked
Warriors.
so far, okay. It's worked so far, whatever. But it can't be here. You go, okay. I didn't make it. Okay, your turn. They got to find some type of cohesiveness, continuity, and we'll see. We'll see. Every series is different, and nothing will surprise me. Nothing should surprise anybody at this point. But I just hope we see a good series. I believe we will. I don't think there's going to be any blowouts. I call it right now. I don't think there's going to be a game like we've seen a lot of blowouts in the past 2 weeks.
What we saw yesterday, we're not. We don't see that.
Well, that's not going. to We might not ever see that again. But I don't see many double-digit wins on either side in this series. I'm gonna put it like that.
I think Kidd will use the same strategy he kind of just used with Chris Paul. You're gonna try to attack Stephen Curry, and Curry's defense has got better, so we see where that goes. But Luka's obviously 6'8". He's a different type of beast, and you saw what Ja was able to do against that defense. So the Dallas has something to work with there. But to Rich's point, it can't just be Luka that beats them. And I think Jason Kidd has kind of solved that issue here a little bit. But Brunson can't be off like he was the first 2 games in Phoenix. And Spencer Dinwiddie has to play well. So you're going to need all those guys. And then Maxi Cleaver stretching the floor for them. I think it's going to be a little different because Draymond's going to get out there and get that contest. He's not going to maybe overhelp as much. But Dallas has something to play with here. They just have to figure it out. And that's why I said they'll probably get 2. They can maybe push a 7 because of Kidd.
What's up with Hardaway?
He's hurt.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
I don't really know what's wrong with him. He's hurt though. That is a big piece to have, especially
yeah.
that would be somebody you would love to have right now in this series.
Yeah, man, an interchangeable part.
Another scorer.
So, I mean, Knicks fans are loving it, man. Even Frank Ntilikina is getting love out here. He was a difference maker against Chris Paul. Um, oh man, I mean that's pretty much it. We got the draft lottery tomorrow. So I live in Texas. I know a lot of Houston fans are amped for that one. They've been praying for this number one pick all season. So
Same
we'll
here
find
in
out
Orlando.
there. That's true too. All the Houston media reference Orlando, and who else do they reference? It's
Probably OKC. OKC got to be it.
It is, but so like Oklahoma, it's funny because out here Oklahoma City is like the hated team because they like I see a lot of people from Oklahoma City fans kind of go at the beat writers in Houston a bit, so they kind of just take jabs back at Oklahoma City. But yeah, I would say it's those top three. But you know what I learned? So we just talked about it earlier with this whole Phoenix not getting Ja Morant in 2017, 2018, no 2019. Yeah, 2019. So they don't get him. They don't get him in that Zion draft, which they desperately needed, and they had one of the worst records. Don't be surprised if one of these like the Knicks are gonna be in the lottery. They didn't have a bad season, but they're gonna be in the lottery. So don't be surprised if something like that happens to them, because Memphis was kind of the same way when they got Ja.
My theory about the lottery, especially when David Stern was there, whatever team just lost their star player is in position for that number one pick. AD leaves, Zion magically pops up there. LeBron leaves, Kyrie magically pops up there. Chris Paul left, AD magically pops up there. Watch out for a team. I don't know what team just lost their superstar. I think it's been a little different after Adam Silver took over. But watch out for the team that lost their superstar, man. They're in there. I can't think of what top teams are up there. Yeah, man. I don't know. But watch whatever team, when you go look at it tomorrow, I'm gonna text y'all. I'm gonna look and I'm like, watch out for this team.
All right.
They lost their star. There's a chance
man.
even if they don't get the first pick, they might move up a little bit. That's how I see it. There's probably a couple other teams in there too that after their star left, they ended up with number one pick. In the last 10 years.
Can I ask y'all a question real quick? Totally off topic, just a Twitter poll that I put out there. Just me, whatever, having a lot of time on my hands. In their prime, who you building a team around first? Prime Kyrie, prime Rose, and I'll throw in a prime Ja, just in case.
You want to go? Okay, you want to take it, or you want me to go first?
Do you have your answer already?
Yeah, I got my answer.
You can take it. I need a second to think.
So initially when I looked at it, I was gonna say Kyrie, but then I had to think about it. Kyrie got drafted and had the chance to be the number one guy. He had some play, like he did play with Dion Waiters. There was some other pieces over there that he did play with. There was still a lottery team every year. Derrick Rose goes number one pick. Couple years later, than the number one seed in the league.
He did have a better team and better coaching.
You could say that. You could say that, but it wasn't like Kyrie played with scrubs either.
No,
it wasn't like Derrick. It wasn't like Derrick Rose. It wasn't like Derrick Rose played with like a superstar.
No, he didn't. No.
I love Noah.
No. Yeah.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish. Yeah, I knew you were gonna bring that up. Look, you asked me who would I at the whole argument that we had that day. Was Mike, you weren't on, but I think you were tapped in with us though. Noah was an all-star. Noah was solid number 2. I'm saying Noah was a solid number 2.
Noah was up for MVP voting.
Yeah, I said top 5 in MVP.
Top 5 MVP voting.
So
top 5 MVP voting.
That's
It was a watered down year. It was a water.
Nah, don't give me that now. Before he was top 5. He was up there, so that got to be. That's another star at least. If he's not a,
he was. What I'm saying is he was never paired with like an upper at like Noah was to those Bulls teams as far as stature goes what Middleton is to the Bucks right now.
I think he's like Draymond to the Warriors.
You could say he's like Draymond too, but I would make him a little more comparable to what Middleton is with the Bucks just because of what the league was at the time.
Okay.
I got Rose. I got Rose. I think Rose did what he was supposed to do with enough talent. Kyrie, I felt, had enough talent to at least be a playoff team,
To
and
your
he couldn't
point,
do it.
a buddy of mine says, and I didn't. He brought up a good point. He was like, Mike, think about this. You said in that weak East, because that was when the East was bad. You know what I mean? The East was
I
bad.
argue that all
LeBron,
the time. I argue that all the time. I
you
don't think the
do,
East.
you do. I've heard you say speak your piece on that. But he was like, Mike, he couldn't get a Cleveland team into the playoffs in a weak East, and in the NBA, one superstar can get you into the playoffs, and he couldn't do it. I was like, all right, that's fair. I never thought about it that way, but that was just a nugget that I thought I'll throw y'all.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
especially but I'll give him that, especially at the time, because before LeBron got there, that's when I would say, yeah, the East was that right the what was it, 2014. They could have at least been like an 8 seed in 2014.
Yeah, when you look at the question, obviously, like what Rich was saying, I first thought about it. You kind of think Kyrie, but then with the question, you've seen Rose kind of do it, and we haven't seen Kyrie do it without LeBron or somebody like that. So off the top, I think that gives D Rose an advantage. Obviously, what Bron came there and Kyrie's what like fourth season, somewhere
Yeah.
along
Kai,
those
so
lines.
Kai was drafted 2011 draft.
So
Yeah,
he
so
had,
he was like, that was like
he
his
had
fourth
some
or fifth year.
he had some time, and then you think what happened in Boston, maybe now with Brooklyn. I think it's shown us that D Rose has did it, and I think that's why he's the pick. I think where it got interesting to me is when you threw John in there, because now John and D Rose are kind of at their same points before D Rose
And
got
doing the
hurt.
same things. And doing the
Yeah.
same things.
So now it's like now we're going
That'd be a
like
harder one.
we seen
That'd be
both
hard.
do
I didn't
it.
have that in the question, but it just came up now, and
Hey,
that's a hell of
hey,
a.
hey! I'll give you my answer to that. I'm ready off rip. I would take Ja because I think Ja's a better shooter than Rose is. But that one's super tight to me.
Rose wasn't a bad shooter though. Like he was like
In
obviously he wasn't great,
Chicago,
but
he's actually a better shooter now than
Yeah,
he
he's
was
a
when
way
he
better
won
shooter.
MVP.
Yeah,
he's a way better shooter now.
But then
he wasn't
he
bad.
took he wasn't terrible. I mean,
Like
I've
his-
seen him hit game winners, then, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about 3
I mean,
points
I remember the one that he hit against Cleveland. What was it, the 2015
Yeah,
the
off the
2015
bank,
playoffs.
coming off the tank. Yeah, but he was hitting game winners before that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it wasn't a regular thing, but go ahead, Kay.
I think D Rose, his mid range jump shot was good. Obviously, the game was different back then, so he wasn't taking as
Right.
much three, so he wasn't working on it as much. I think if the game what it was now, you see how he adapted and he can shoot now. So I don't know that one's tough. I was gonna say Ja kind of too, but in my head I'm thinking like this might be recency bias because you got to remember D Rose was that guy. Like D Rose was that
man.
guy
I guess,
before he got hurt.
I get sad. I get sad talking about D Rose. I'm
I
getting sad talking
still-
about it now.
I
I feel
still
like
have him. Go ahead, my bad. I thought you were done.
Well,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say his body failed him so bad. Derrick Rose was good enough to get you to at least the NBA Finals. I always feel like Derrick he got his doc out now. He had the doc out that he released through Stadium, I think it was. But that man needs a 30 for 30. Man,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
what a loss of a career.
When he retires,
But-
though, he'll get it because he bounced back as well as anyone.
Oh, yeah, man.
could
Yeah,
have bounced
yeah.
back.
When I saw him put what was it, a 50 piece up
50
when he
in
was
Minnesota.
in
Yep.
Minnesota, man, I almost cried tears. Man, that
He
was
did.
man.
He did. He cried, man. That dude, again, like, people, oh, he's done. He's done. I hate those knee jerk reactions. Yeah, he's coming back from injury. Let him show you that he's done. Don't let the injury history of people that didn't come back. Just a whole different player. Medicine is getting better. But I don't care what the hell Stephen A. Smith says. Derrick Rose is the most athletic point guard to ever play the position. I don't give a damn. He says Russell Westbrook is D Rose. I'm sorry.
It's hard for me to answer that one because I think both of them are as explosive as could be. But
They are.
You know,
What the difference for me comes is how they finish at the rim, and I think D Rose finished in a lot much more variety than Russ did.
If we're talking
that's-
like
you know-
under the rim non-dunk finishes, D Rose was finishing.
Yeah.
I think back to the argument. I think talent-wise, it should be Kyrie,
Yeah.
but we just haven't seen it. Whether I don't know what that is. Maybe like we said, that the talent around him just maybe wasn't there early on or whatever. But I think John D Rose is like they like right there.
They're
Like
right there, man.
if you said that they were twins and they grew up together and they came
Yeah.
both came out like that, I'd be like, word. So
Where's Ja from?
South
'Cause
Carolina.
Rose is from Chicago. He's from South Carolina. Okay.
Yeah, he put him and Zion played AAU together.
So I can't even go wrong with someone saying D Rose. I myself may pick D Rose. I think it's a tie. Really, you can go tit for
That was
tat.
tough. Yeah, that was tough.
Depending on the game, because I think, like I said, D Rose adjusts if he's playing in this type of game now. So obviously we've seen him adjust already. So I think he wasn't a bad shooter to me then. It was more mid range pull ups and things like that. Obviously he wasn't taking as many threes, probably not making them, but that's just what the game was back then. I think if he's playing now, he's probably looks like a better shooter because he works on it more, probably like Ja
Right.
does. So
Right.
he probably gets more looks now because back then, and I remember Ray Allen saying it. It's like if you took 2 threes, coach would tell you settle in, attack the paint, do something else. Now you take 2 threes, like you got to keep shooting. You settle in, not taking enough threes. So it's a different game, but same player, bro. I'm going both.
Yeah,
I'll be
you
fine.
can't go wrong with either one.
I'm fine with either or.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. But we got an exciting week ahead of us, gentlemen. As conference finals, we finally are at the end of this thing. You know, we at the end of it when we start talking about football mini camps and stuff like that. But it should be an exciting week, and I can't wait for next week as we get closer to these finals. The logo's back. The finals logo is back. So definitely can't wait for that. But that's enough here. Y'all got anything before we get out of here?
That's it for me.
That's it for me, man. Looking forward to the lottery. Pretty much. That's about it.
All right. So
Appreciate you always for coming on, Mike. You already know.
Man, no,
Mike,
thank
whenever
guys,
you know,
man.
the invitation is always extended. Whenever you want to jump on, you know.
I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate. You know what I like too? I noticed, and there's nothing wrong with agreeing, but a lot of times we don't, and we
Man, nothing wrong
disagree
with that
sometimes
either.
in this
Yeah.
show, and I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. So I appreciate the platform, man. Love y'all.
Same here. So that'll do it for Rich, Mike, and Kayson. We will catch you guys next time. Peace.